How Eamon Met Kaidan. Chapter 9. Greywatch House, Winterhold. Loredas, the 25th of Evening Star, in the 201st year of the Fourth Era. Emelia. The next day. Emelia stood on the front porch of Greywatch House in the hour before dawn. She'd tossed and turned for 3 or 4 hours before giving up and getting dressed again. She'd tried to sleep in Eamon's bed, hoping that his scent on the linens would keep her nightmares at bay, but they had come upon her all the same, vicious and unrelenting. She had briefly considered going into the guest room where Kaidan was sleeping, but that was a bridge too far, and she didn't feel like trying to explain it to Gregor or Hilda if they found her in another man's bed under Eamon's own roof. So she'd gotten up, dressed in fresh clothing from her own chamber, and read Eamon's letter one more time. Turas, 23rd of Evening Star. My dearest Ruma, it is late, but I cannot sit here through another night while you are out there somewhere, perhaps suffering or lost. I can bear it no longer, so I am going out in search of you. Gregor will remain here so that you will not come home to find yourself alone or without support. Gen and Mitty are with me, so do not worry that I will be in danger or do something mad without you nearby to stop me. If I have done something to make you feel you had to leave, I will repent and atone for it until you forgive me, I swear it. I don't ever wish to be parted from you, but I could bear the separation if that is what you truly want or need. What I cannot bear is the pain of uncertainty, the fear for your life and well-being. If you should come home and read this letter, I beg of you to stay at Greywatch House until I return. Please, Emelia, I must know that you are safe. If you need to leave, if you need your independence or regret our arrangement, I will support you in any way that I can, but I need you to stay here, safe, warm, and protected under my name and my roof until I return. I have waited as long as I can, my love. I cannot call you anything else in this moment, which perhaps we should discuss when I find you and see you safe again. I know that I have allowed important things to go unsaid. I have acted or failed to act with the arrogance of my race, which is thinking we have the right to claim time without limit. I can only beg your forgiveness for this failure and tell you that everything in me, all that I am and all that I have, is yours if you will have it. I love you, and I will say it 1,000 times if you will but stay alive. Come home and give me one last chance to give you what should already have been yours for more than a year gone by. Be well, Fetandil. I beg Stendar for mercy, and I beg you to stay and wait for my return. Your humble servant, E. The sky was melting from black into gray, and Emelia sipped her hot cup of soothing bitter chocolate as Gregor approached her from the direction of the stables. He smiled a greeting, and she motioned for him to join her at the railing. "Should you be out in this chill, my lady?" he asked, leaning over the rail and kicking the snow from his boots on the posts. "Oh, Gregor, forgive me. Do you want to go inside and get warm?" He looked at her in mock horror. "Have I grown so old, my lady, that you think my Nord blood will freeze so easily? No, I'm happy to stand here with you and watch the sunrise." He draped his own greatcoat over her shoulders, and when she looked up to protest, he simply drew her into an embrace. "We were so afraid for you, child, and happiness isn't a big enough word to tell you how I feel now you're home again." They stood this way together in silence and watched Magnus peek over the horizon, painting the sky with brilliant purples, pinks, and oranges. Gregor cleared his throat and stood upright, releasing her and rolling his shoulders. "Let's go inside now, Lady Emelia. You need to be warmed and fed, and I need to see to this young man you've brought us." She nodded and followed Gregor into the house. Greywatch House was smaller than one might expect from the richness of its appointments and the size of its lands. Apparently, Eamon's father had been a man of excellent taste but modest appetites. The home was built with the entryway, kitchens, drawing room, and a study on the ground level, but everything else was built underground, where it could benefit from the ambient warmth of a large hot spring that ran only a few meters below the floorboards on the lower level. In a genius work of architectural daring, the spring had been tapped and brought inside so that the home boasted a flowing hot bath with moving water that remained clear and clean with very little maintenance. It also ensured that the sleeping quarters were always warm and inviting, no matter how bitter the outside cold and winds became. This was no small advantage in Winterhold, where the snow remained thick year-round and temperatures could be cruel even in the summer months. Gregor was fussing over settling Emelia into her customary chair by the fire when Kaidan emerged from downstairs, drawn from his bed by the sounds of conversation and the smells of breakfast. "Did we wake you?" Emelia asked. "We didn't mean to, I just couldn't sleep." Kaidan walked stiffly to the chair opposite hers and sat with a groan. "You didn't wake me, lass. I couldn't sleep either." Gregor looked him up and down before saying, "Here, lad, drink this." The old man filled another mug with the steaming chocolate and shoved it into Kaidan's hands. "This'll put some color back in your ears and a little more hitch in your britches." Kaidan obediently cradled the mug and said, "Thank you, sir. I appreciate it." Gregor humphed at being called sir and turned back to Emelia. "My lady, the missus will be in shortly with a tray for you both." And with that, he left the room. Kaidan looked at Emelia and raised his eyebrows, saying, "Servants? You actually have servants?" Emelia shook her head and said, "No, Kaidan, I most certainly do not. Gregor is Eamon's steward, and his wife Hilda is the housekeeper. They have managed this estate for longer than I've been alive. In truth, it's more their house than Eamon's in many respects, and they treat us more like guests or family members than employers. So if you know what's good for you, you won't let them hear you use the word servant." "Fair enough," Kaidan said, and he took a long sip of his chocolate. Making a deep groan of satisfaction, he asked, "What is this? I thought it would be coffee, but this is something I've never tasted." "It's chocolate," Emelia replied. "The Argonians make it, from a fermented fruit that can only grow in warm climates with a lot of rain." Kaidan shook his head in wonder. "How do you get it all the way out here, then?" "You can do a lot of things with magic and money," Emelia replied. "This chocolate is shipped in from Riften by way of Dawnstar, and it costs a shiny septum, but Eamon doesn't indulge many luxuries, so don't pass judgment." Kaidan reached over to touch her arm briefly. "Hey, I'm not thinking anything bad about him or about you. I certainly won't judge a man for spending his money as he likes, and this is very good. I've never had anything like it." "I'm glad you like it. I find it gives me more energy than tea, but it doesn't make me jittery like coffee." She took another sip and savored it before saying, "It is the perfect drink for a cold morning." They sat in companionable silence until Kaidan asked, "Did you read the letter he left you?" "Yes." "Is he angry?" "No," she said softly, "but he ought to be." "We've been through that," Kaidan said. "Yes, I know, but he's still out there hunting for Thalmor camps, and he's terrified that I'm dead or something worse. He's out there in the cold searching for me, and he could get himself killed, while I'm sitting here under a blanket with a cup of chocolate by the fire. It isn't right." "Well, you can't leave," Kaidan said. "No, I have to stay here in case he comes back. His letter begged me to stay here until he returns. I won't risk missing him again." "I could go," Kaidan said. "I could go find him and tell him that you're safe." "Where would you go? How on Nirn do you expect to find him? He could be anywhere by now. No, lass, don't exaggerate. He left here with a plan. Gregor said that he and two family members, forgive me, I don't recall the names. The Valdirs, Valgan and his son Mitty. Yes, the Valdirs. Gregor said they started for Windhelm and left notes for each other at every stop. The innkeepers would remember that. We know that he was headed to Riften, so I could just follow their trail in that direction. I'll either find them and give them the good news, or they will beat me back here, and you can introduce us all when I return from Riften. Kaidan, Emelia began, why are you doing all of this for me? You owe me nothing. All I did was— Stop that, Kaidan cut her off. I made you several promises, and you said you would allow me to keep them. So let me. Emelia nodded. All right, Kaidan, you win. It's a good plan, and I can't think of a better one, so thank you. You're welcome, lass. We'll take today to rest, and I'll head out for Windhelm in the morning.